Hi, I'm Pat and welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please click the subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. Today we're not working on the BMW i8, so if you came here for i8 content, stick around, you might find something very interesting. We're going to be working on the old standby, the 2007 Ford Explorer Sport Trac. Now the Sport Trac developed a transmission leak, and I did a little research and found out what it requires in order to fix it. At first I was a little hesitant and I thought, maybe I really don't want to do this myself. But I'm a big fan of watching Heidi and Franny and seeing how they always work on everything they own. So, you know what? I think I'm going to give it a shot. This will be my first time cracking open a transmission, so we're going to get to cracking and you get to go along for the ride. Here's a quick history on the Ford Explorer Sport Trac before we get started. This is a 2007 model that was built in October of 2006. How do I know that? My father ordered it. He and I both had matching, except for the paint, Ford Explorer Sport Tracs. This is the limited model, 4x4, so it has a leather interior, and this one has the orange frost paint, but when my father had his accident at work and he lost his sight, he couldn't drive anymore. My stepmom drove him around in this until it was getting a little bit difficult for her to drive it all the time. So he sold it to me, and I've tried to keep it running the best I can. It has 178,000 miles on it, and of course now it's 13 years old. So it's about time that things break, and luckily I have the tools and the time to go ahead and repair it myself. So the first thing we want to do is remove the negative battery terminal on the vehicle, and that is because I'm actually going to be pulling the wiring harness off the back of the transmission, and I don't want anything weird happening with the transmission. I have my safety glasses on and my 5/16 inch socket. The electronics are now disengaged. I have the truck up on the quick jacks, and if you're interested in learning more about them, please see the link in the description where I did a review on these when I used them on the i8. But let's take a look underneath the Sport Trac and see what we have to deal with. Now I'm underneath the Sport Trac. That's the front up there, and here's the quick jack. When I installed the quick jack underneath the truck to do something else, I noticed all this fluid, and I said to myself, what's going on? Unfamiliar with what this may be, I took a closer look, and the culprit is up there. So that black connector that goes into the transmission, and this is a 6R60 transmission, that black connector has a seal around it that prevents transmission fluid from coming out. And in there are where the electronics are located in order to shift the transmission. So this is a mess. First thing I'm going to do, clean this up a little bit, but let's back out and take a look at all the tools that are necessary in order to complete this job. In order to do this job properly, I got myself some nitrile gloves, some rags, some drain pans. I don't have an open-ended wrench that's 3/4 or 19 millimeters. This is required to take the dipstick out of the top of the transmission. This is the same socket we used on the battery, 11/32. We got some heavy-duty degreaser. I went with this rather than a brake cleaner because the connector that's attached to the truck, of course, that's plastic, the seals are rubber. I didn't want to mess with heavy-duty solvents, so just a Pro-Strength Degreaser. This is the new connector, part number here. So this is what they call the connector, but this is actually a sleeve with some gaskets on it. It's plastic, and that is what's leaking. And of course, we picked up a brand new FT160, which is the correct style transmission oil filter. So all this will be installed, and then we have a pump in order to pump in new transmission fluid. I didn't buy it yet, but it's a Mercon SP in this transmission, and also a fluid extractor in case I put too much in and I need to take some out. First things first, this is the area where I want to concentrate. I want to get all the grime off of this connector and of course off the bottom of the transmission. So I'm going to use my cleaner and spray it down, and then it says wait about 5 to 10 minutes and then wipe everything down. So I'm going to try to stay out of the path of the cleaner and give it a shot and see what happens. This is like scrubbing bubbles that I use in the bathroom. And I could already see the degreaser is working. It's already taken some of this grease right off of the cross member. Oh, we'll let it work for a while and then come back and wipe it down. I could see that a lot of the scrubbing bubbles are starting to drip, so I'm just going to go ahead and take off some of this lower surface. That's pretty dirty. Look at that. Now I take this vehicle on the beach in the Outer Banks of North Carolina in the Corolla area. And there, in order to access some of the houses, you need to drive on the beach. So this truck gets exposed to a lot of sand every year. So there was a lot of sand in the areas around the transmission that I need to break loose. So I brought my shop vac over and I tried to remove as much sand as I could because I don't want to get any sand in the transmission. So I'll have to be very careful when I'm reassembling things to ensure that no sand is getting anywhere. Now let's see if I can pull this dipstick out of here. There's already transmission fluid coming out, which is weird because this is not a lot of transmission fluid. It shouldn't be that full. This is clearly over full. So put the aluminum foil over top of the exhaust so that when I drain the transmission, the fluid doesn't seep into the steel, and instead with the aluminum foil on top, it should just go over the exhaust pipe. And then when I'm done with the service, I remove the aluminum foil and then the transmission fluid will not burn off of the exhaust. We got the right socket, and this says it is an 8mm, which is fine. There's probably an American SAE non-metric that's correct, but the 8mm fits. Yeah, that's helpful, thank you. So I got enough bolts loose now that it's now raining. Automatic transmission fluid. And eventually we'll just tip it down completely so that it'll still drain this way.
You're not taking them all the way off yet?
No.
Oh, okay, so I was like,
So we just keep making it rain. All right, that's the last bolt. If there's any...
it's basically empty.
Okay.
You only have a very little bit. Yep, just pour.
Now this thing right here is the release that I need to pull down in order to get to the plug that I need to change out, because that's up above this.
Yeah.
So once I pull this down, then I can pull that out of the transmission, and that's what I actually need to replace. All right, so I have a couple components here. Obviously, that's the bottom of the transmission pan, and this is the gasket. Now, because I've driven this vehicle in the sand, I need to get this as clean as possible, and of course I can't use any solvent, so I'm using a different bottle of automatic transmission fluid that's been sitting around, and a squirt bottle, and I'm just going to squirt this down and allow it to run down and provide the lubrication and the cleaning that I need in order to get this cleaned up. So this is the inside of the oil pan. There's a magnet here. I took the magnet off and cleaned the magnet and wiped down the entire pan. It was very dirty, and there was a lot of material on the magnet from break-in and normal use of this transmission. So that's ready to go. Got the new filter out of the bag. That's ready to go. It matches the old filter. And we have the connector here. This is what goes in the back of the transmission. So I got to pull the existing one out. Then I can pop this one in its place and then put the filter in the transmission, the gasket, and the bottom of the pan, and put everything back together and fill it with fluid. So I'm going to reach up and disengage the connector. And lots of sand, of course. Well, time to get the vacuum again. Right there is the connector that I just pulled off, and that is the sleeve around the outside that has the bad seal. So I just have to pull this unit out. In order to pull the unit out, you have to pull that white tab that you can see right in the middle of the screen. You pull that down, and that releases that. So it's covered in sand right now, so I'm going to have to go and vacuum that out before I pull it. Here's the part that came out, and yeah, it's covered in sand. So here's the device that came out. This is what wears, and then the transmission fluid will come out, but this is covered in sand. And that is because I take this truck to the beach. So there's sand in here. There's sand on the outside, which is that's impacting the seals, I'm sure. I'm sure that had something to do with this part failing. And this is the piece that's going in its place. And it's got different colored O-rings, but serves the same purpose. So we'll go ahead and slide this into the transmission. All right, so this is indexed. There's a small piece of plastic in here that faces down. I'll slide this into place. If it goes. Come on, why won't you go? Why won't you go? Okay, this is weird. Crap. This won't go in. It starts and then it won't go. It's like it just should easily slip in there, and it's not. It's not slipping in. Come on. I don't want to break something, but I'm like, I don't know why it won't go in. So I'm trying to give it a little bit of a nudge, and it's not going. Welcome to day 2. Yeah, it's a bloodbath. Gotta clean that up. The problem that I have is this connector here doesn't seem to be going in all the way, so I can't close the locking pin. So I spent a couple hours on this last night trying to push, pull, prod. It wouldn't go. So I figured I'd let it sit in there and let the seals compress a little bit, and give it a try today. So that's going to be our task. Once we clean this up, see if we can get this thing pushed in and seated. One thing I read online on one of the YouTube pages out there on how to replace this was someone actually had to use a board and a mallet. So I have a rubber mallet and a piece of board here, and I'm going to try to be as careful as possible, but give this thing a few taps to see if it'll actually go into place. And I'm hitting it on different sides of it to see if it'll help seat it. Okay. Let's see if that did anything good at all. Yep, that's what it took. That's what it took. So I give it a pull. It's in there. Huh. Okay. That was a complete surprise because I've been using a lot of pressure on this thing for a long period of time. And there's our bulkhead connector. And all I had to do was push up on that white lock right there. Once that went up, that holds the bulkhead connector in place, so that if I give it a pull, it's not coming out. All right, now it's time to get the rest of the transmission put together. This is this particular style filter that came with this transmission. There was an upgraded version, but I stuck with the same kind, and that'll sit in the pan sort of like that, with this pickup tube going up inside of the transmission casing. So this is now ready to go. All right, so I see a bit of corrosion on the mating surface to where the seal is going to go against the transmission. I've been using a small Brillo-like substance here in order to clean up the surface. All right, so I'm trying to get this corrosion here. It's starting to seep in past where the seal would come in contact, so I could feel a little bit of a ridge here. I've already taken care of some of this back here and it feels smooth, but I feel a little bit of a ridge in here. So whatever debris was getting in between this and the metal part of the seal, I want to make sure that's backed off. I don't want that to start intruding on the rubber part of the seal. So I picked up this new seal because the old seal had deterioration in it, and I think that was from this corrosion that's on here, seeped into the rubber part. So you can see that hole?
Yeah.
That's where this is going in. And it has an O-ring on it. Okay, so I'm gonna need you to make sure, yeah, it's not really a lot of force,
Yeah,
but
just told me.
I don't want it to come flying out. Yeah.
I got this.
Okay, you sure?
Yes.
I think you're too far to the front of the truck. Yeah.
Easy.
Yep. Okay. Now, get the seal where it's supposed to be.
What? What?
that. So I'm going to have you hold this first. I'm going to try to get this in the hole without hitting the sides.
Yeah,
Oh, you're squeezing it. There it is.
There it is.
Cool.
It's my arm workout for the day.
Yeah. It's too bad I don't have a longer. If I had a longer hose, it wouldn't be a problem. It's going in. It's like, oh, stop.
Ding.
No.
Okay.
Grab this. Thank you. So I have the 3/4 inch filler cap. And that'll keep it sealed up. Well, yet another day has gone by. I decided to start the truck because after we pumped a lot of fluid into it and it was starting to overfill, it was still at that level the next day. So I still have Sport Trac up on the quick jacks, and I'm going to see if we get any leaks, which I don't expect that we're going to have any. Everything seems to be sealed up pretty well. And the last I checked, we didn't have any type of errors. Oh, we'll turn this light down. Now, you don't have any errors or anything on the dash, which is good, because it can actually throw a wrench, and that'll indicate that there's a problem with the transmission. So I'm going to leave this run for a couple minutes and make sure all is well here. But yeah, another day. Luckily I don't need it all the time, so leave her run. We'll check back again. Take it back out, and I am actually in the hash mark range. So may be hard to see on camera, but there's actually hash marks in here, and it's in the range. So that's when it's hot, it's supposed to be at the high point, and when it's cold at the low point. It says, you know, check hot, idling, and park. So I'm going to do that. The problem is this catalytic converter is right here, and when you want to reach in here to take your dipstick out, there's a good chance you're going to burn yourself. I'm already touching it by accident, so it's nearly impossible to get this dipstick out without touching that catalytic converter. So I think I'm actually going to be okay. I should take this for a spin, see how it operates, make sure everything is good, bring it back to the house here, then put it back up on the lift, and you know, I could figure out what I want to do next. Maybe I will pick up a set of mechanics gloves while I'm out, and yeah. Okay, we got the truck started up. It's sitting outside the garage here. I'm just going to take it for a spin over to the parts store. It's about less than a mile away, but I've had the truck sitting here warming up, and so far so good. I'll pick up some mechanics gloves and maybe a 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter wrench. That way I don't have to use the adjustable anymore. All right, let's see how this goes. All right, we just got our parts. Picked up actually a set of crow's feet. One of them was 3/4. I didn't have a set, so it only makes sense to get that. So I have those, and also got some mechanics gloves so they don't burn myself. I'm just going to take the truck down the road here a bit because it seems to be working properly. I put it in reverse, and the reverse lights light up, so I know that's working as well. So our connection is made very well. So it's going to take it down the road here, maybe around the block. I did notice it shifting a little hard, but it may actually be going through its relearn process because the shifting is electronic, and I've disconnected the battery and it was off the battery for a while. So you get a little bit of a hard shift, but not incredibly hard. And now it's not shifting hard at all, as I'm shifting like second to third, third to fourth. So we'll see what happens. We'll take it for a spin, get it home, get it back up on the quick jacks. All right, got a blanket here, got gloves, got a rag. So break it loose and then see what happens here. Got our crow's foot on there. Okay. That worked well. Be super careful here. Don't want to burn myself. Don't want hot fluid on me. Okay. Trying to get this off of here without pulling the dipstick out. See if I can keep the dipstick in there. There we go. Okay. That's good. It wasn't over full. Now, so you already bumped the catalytic converter. Good thing I have these gloves. Just have to watch. I do this correctly. Don't hurt myself. Okay, dipstick is nice and clean. Let's go ahead and put the dipstick back in. Watching the catalytic converter and the hole at the same time. Okay, it's all the way in. Let's take it all the way out. And it's just a little low. It's below the hash mark. That tells us we need more fluid in here. I'll go ahead and grab the pump. This has a hook to it because of the way the hose was built and performed. So let's see if I can pump this up. Hopefully the hose doesn't fall out. Okay, now I get a bunch of pumps. So let's see where my was now. So I sure did put enough fluid in here. All right, it's all the way down. Yeah, we're in the hash marks now. Okay, I'm not going to push my luck with this. I'd rather have it at an acceptable level than too full. Sometimes too full is problematic. Well, at this point, this video is effectively over. We did take care of the seals. We did take care of the filter. And new transmission fluid is in the transmission. Everything's topped off and looking great. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, and please give me a big thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Been working hard the past 4 days, and I didn't wear the same clothes the past 4 days. I changed into these in order to work in the garage. So thanks for your support. Thanks for continuing to watch and give me the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Take care and have a great day, and happy motoring.